Good morning, everyone. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. So let's take a few moments to become present. Find yourself a nice, comfortable seated position where your back is nice and long and straight, and the back of your neck is long, and chest is open, diaphragms open, heart's open. Then close your eyes and soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. And soften your heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. Today's intention I'd like to talk about is Samadhi, the 8th and final limb of yoga. All the previous 7 limbs prepare the mind and the body for that 8th limb, Samadhi, which I consider to be the spiritual limb. The first 2 limbs of yoga, the yamas and niyamas, are guidelines for the mind. The 3rd and 4th limbs, the asanas and the pranayamas, the exercises and the breathing techniques, are exercises for the body. Pratyahara, the 5th limb, tells us to start to withdraw our senses from the body. Dharana is about concentration, focus of the mind. Dhyana is an experience of the mind becoming one with an object. So last week we did a guided meditation focusing on the objects mentioned in the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address. The first was the people. And we focused on the people next to us. We focused on our group. We focused on our community and the people in our state and even in the world. The passage ended with, so now we bring our minds together as one, as we give thanks and greetings to each other as people. Now our minds are one. And each passage, we focused on a subject, an object, and it all ended with, now our minds are one. So that in a nutshell is the dhyana, the experience of the mind becoming one. So Samadhi, we take that another step. It's an experience of the spirit within us, not the mind, but the spirit within us of becoming one with all living things, the spirit of all living things. So when I say namaste, I know there's different interpretations of namaste, but when I say namaste, my translation of namaste is the spirit in me honors the spirit in you. I recognize that we all have this joint spirit together. So the Samadhi is a spiritual enlightenment that liberates us from our ego, feelings of attachment, and feelings of fear. You feel a lightness and a freedom when you reach the Samadhi level, and a feeling that you're filled with joy that passes all understanding. I know we've experienced and heard that phrase before in our Christian faiths, but it is that. I've read quite a few articles this week on Samadhi, and people who have reached this, and as Jim Donovan's pointed out, it's an enlightenment. So it's an experience not everyone is able to obtain. But the way that they were talking about their experiences, it reminded me about what I've read of near-death experiences and how people have this lightness, and they're connected with the spirits of other people, and they just feel this union of one with the energy of the world. So it's in essence that kind of experience. And maybe we get glimpses of it in other ways, but it is an experience like the dhyana, the meditation, is an experience of the mind. So those are the 8 limbs of yoga. And for today's meditation, I'd like to have us do a mudra as well as a mantra. The mudra is about connecting points in our fingers, the meridians. If you use acupuncture, or heard about how acupuncture works, it works with the meridians, and the fingertips and toes, the end tips, are the endpoints of our meridians. So by putting our hands together in certain ways, it redirects the energies back into us. So there's a mudra called Dhyana, and it's one that you'll see in statues of Buddha, and he'll be sit cross-legged in these statues with his right hand over his left hand, and that's resting in his lap, and the thumbs are touching. So that's the Dhyana Mudra, and it's the mudra he used before he gained enlightenment. So if you be able to do that, just placing your right hand right in top of your left palm and just touching your thumbs together. And the mantra, while we meditate, if you repeat it silently in your head, goes, now our spirits are one. Now our spirits are one. You may open your eyes now, and we'll begin our asana practice. So remain in that nice seated position. With your back nice and long, neck long. Then we'll do some sun breaths, and I'd like to incorporate the pranayama, Samadhi, which is equal length breath, into our sun breaths. So what I would like you to do, and I'll just explain it to start, is to close your eyes and really focus on the count. And the count can be 4, it can be 6, which is my count. Whatever works for you, to feel that your breath is going from your stomach, that full, complete breath. So it comes from your stomach like a wave of ocean wave. It flows from your stomach, expanding your stomach, flows up to your ribs, then flows up to your chest. And then on the exhale, it would flow away from your chest like a wave receding from the beach, then flows away from your ribs and flows away from your stomach. So that's the complete breath. So you incorporate that and really get the rhythm of your count involved in that. So I'll be breathing in to a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with my stomach and my ribs and my chest. And then exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can do that either sitting here, or if you want to bring your arms into it and get a full flow going with your count and with your breath, synchronizing all of it together, the mind, the body, the breath. So I'm going to let you close your eyes and just work on that for a few moments of really kind of synchronizing all that together and get into a nice flow for yourself. And take one last breath, inhale and exhale, returning to a neutral position. And next, what we'll do is we'll do the same thing, close our eyes. You can eliminate the count if you want, if it's too much activity going on. But let's just inhale, raising our hands up and then twisting to the left and then coming down. And then right back up again, creating a nice flow. Turning to the right and coming back down. And continue this for a few moments, just kind of creating a nice synchronization between your breath, your arms, and the flow of turning from left to right. And then one last round, and then come back to the center, to the neutral pose. Now we're going to roll down on the mat. You remove your blanket if it's there. You can roll down one vertebrae at a time, or if you want the express method, just tuck your hands underneath your knees and roll back. And bring your knees to your chest and give them a nice gentle hug. You can rock back and forth, just kind of wake up your lower spine. Then interlace your finger and wrap your fingers around your left leg and extend your right leg to the bottom of the mat, flexing both toes, sets of toes, up toward the sky. Then inhale, bring the right leg back to both knees or to the chest, give them a nice hug. And then move your interlaced fingers to your right knee and extend your left knee to the bottom of the mat, flexing both sets of toes up to the sky. Legs are active. And inhale, bringing the left leg back to your chest, give your both legs a nice hug. And then extending your right leg back down to the mat, flexing both toes. And then bring the right leg back, give a nice hug. And we're going to lower our left leg, our left foot, placing it on the mat. And then we're going to extend our right leg up to the sky. And try to get as comfortably straight as you can. Maybe using your right hand, placing it behind your right thigh to support it. And then we're going to go to move our right foot to the 1 o'clock position, then the 2 o'clock position. And if you're able, you can try to move it down as close to the 3 o'clock position as you can. Just opening up our hips. And then bringing it back to the 2 o'clock position, back to the 1 o'clock position, and then back to 12 o'clock. We're going to, where our right hand is behind our thigh, we're going to take our left hand and reach it up as high up on the leg as it'll go. And then we're going to reach our right hand up, just like we're climbing up our leg. So you can lift your head off the mat and just hand over hand, try to reach your foot or your ankle or any part of your leg. Give that a nice stretch. And then release, bringing both legs back to your chest and give them a nice hug. And then we'll take our interlaced fingers, wrapping them around our right leg. We're going to extend the left leg back down to the mat, flexing the toes. Inhale, bring the left leg back up. Give both legs a nice little hug. Extend the right leg down to the bottom of the mat, keeping the toes flexed. Inhale, come back up. Again, with the left leg, extend the left leg back down to the mat. And bring that back up. Give both legs a nice hug. And then place your right foot on the mat, knees pointing up to the sky. And then we're going to send our left foot up to the sky, straightening out our left leg. Again, you can have your left hand or even both hands behind your left leg to support it. And then we're going to move the left leg, left foot to the 1 o'clock position, to the 2 o'clock position, and to the 3 o'clock position, or as close as you can get. That's comfortable for you. No strain. And then back to 2 o'clock, back to 1 o'clock, back to 12 o'clock. And then with our left hand behind our left thigh, we're going to bring our right hand as high up on the leg as we can. And then we're going to start to hand over hand, climb up our leg. And then relax. Bring both knees back to your chest and give them a nice hug. And then we can roll back up, or if you want to roll over to your side and come back up, we're going to come to knees, hands and knees position, but you can also roll up by tucking your hands underneath your knees, and then just start a motion of rolling till you come up seated. Then come up into your hands and knees, which is tabletop. So your wrists are right below your shoulders. Fingers are splayed out, so the weight of your hands are on the balls of your fingers and on your fingertips. You're pushing down gently so that you're creating space between your shoulders and your ears. Knees are right below your hips. Navel's tucked to your spine, create a nice flat back. And we'll do some cat-cows. So we're going to roll our back, which drops our pelvis and our head down for cat. And then inhale, lifting our head and pelvis up for cow. Exhale, round our back for cat. Dropping our head and pelvis down. Inhale, raise the head and pelvis up for cow. Again, really focus on your inhales and your exhales, synchronizing your breath to the movements of cat-cow. We'll do this for a few moments. And then come back to a neutral spine. Bring both knees together underneath your torso. We'll do a few bird dogs. So extend your right leg back so it's about hip height, and focus on the fact that your hip bones should be parallel to the mat. You shouldn't be twisted up. You should kind of focus on that the hip bones are parallel with the mat, parallel to the floor. You're creating kind of a box there. And then lift your left arm up to shoulder height. And we're going to point our toes on the inhale, flex on the exhale, point your toes on the inhale, flex your foot on the exhale, inhale, point, exhale, flex, inhale, point, exhale, flex, inhale, point, exhale, flex, inhale, point, exhale, flex, and bring both hand and knee back down. We'll do that on the other side. So again, maintain your equal distribution of weight in your hands, pushing down slightly so you're creating that space between your shoulders and your ears. Lift your left leg up to hip height. Hips are parallel to the mat. Raise your right arm up, shoulder height. Point your toes, inhale. Flex your foot, exhale. Point, inhale. Flex, exhale. Point, inhale. Flex, exhale. Point, inhale. Flex, exhale. Point, inhale. Flex, exhale. And bring both hand and knee back down. Going to walk our hands back, but You can curl your toes under, or you can have the tops of your feet flat on the mat. We're going to walk our hands back and actually come into a kneeling position, not a squat right off. So you can be seated on your heels, or if that's uncomfortable, you can put a block or towel there. Or if you like, you can have your toes curled under for the kneeling position. This is a hero's pose, and we're going to relax our shoulders and bring our hands around the back, interlacing the fingers. So we're in a yoga lock. So just breathe in, relaxing the shoulders, and then inhale, extending your hands away from your hips, and exhale, bringing your hands interlaced to your right side. These are chest openers. So inhale, bringing them behind your hips, extending them away. Exhale, bring your hands over to the left hip. Inhale, extend back. Exhale, over to the right hip. Inhale, extend back. Exhale, over to the left hip. Inhale, extend back. And release both hands. Come back to tabletop. And this time, if you haven't already, tuck your toes under. And we'll walk our hands back, coming up onto the balls of our feet to a squat. And then push down into the balls of our feet to come up to mountain pose. So the mountain pose, the mountain essentials for good posture. We're going to point our toes to the long side of the mat. And lift our toes up off the mat, spread them apart as far as you can. And then bring your toes back down to the mat, lifting your heels off the mat. And then bring your heels back down to the mat. Really feel that grounded feeling into the mat, into the earth. This time of the year, the Vata season where the wind's blowing and it's dry. You want to do as many things as you can to really feel grounded. So even if you're just getting out of bed, lift your toes up, your heels up, bring them back down, get grounded. That would be a great thing. So our legs are about hip width apart. They're strong and straight, but with a soft bend in the knees. Navel's tucked to the spine. Back is nice and straight and long. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Top of your head reaches up to the sky. So if you take a nice string, you'll feel all the way straightened up. And then we're going to sweep our hands up overhead, bring up above, and then exhale, forward fold, bending your knees deeply, bringing your hands down to the mat. And keep your knees bent as generously as makes it comfortable for you. And we'll just check in with our body, see if there's any tension you feel anywhere. Send a deep, nourishing breath to any parts that do feel a little tense. You can do that throughout the practice. Then inhale, sweeping our hands up to our shins, flattening out our back, sending our gaze down, a half forward fold. And then drop your head down, crown of your head, the top of your head down toward the mat for forward fold. Really stretching out the backs of your legs, hamstrings. Then inhale, sweep your hands up and over your head and come up onto your tippy toes for palm tree. And we'll just sway here for a few moments. Feel again grounded. Feel the balance that this pose provides. Get steady on our feet. And then bring our heels down, sweeping our hands back down to the floor, bending your knees generously. Inhale, come up Halfway, half forward fold, flat back, gaze goes down. And then exhale, forward fold, sending the crown of your head down toward the mat. Inhale, sweeping your hands from the mat all the way up overhead. Bringing the palms together. I'm going to bring the right hand down to the right thigh and slide that right hand down toward the right knee, creating nice crescent shape, the supported side stretch. Inhale, come back up. Bring your hands together and then lower your left hand to your left thigh. Slide that left hand down toward your knee and create a nice crescent shape to the left. Inhale, both hands come back up. Right hand comes down to the thigh. Slide it down toward your knee. And inhale, come back up. And exhale, bring your left hand down. And then slide that hand down toward your knee. One last stretch. Bring both hands back up. Exhale, forward fold, bending at the knees, bringing your hands down to the mat. Inhale, sweeping up halfway up your shins. Flattening out your back, sending the gaze down. And then exhale, send the crown of your head down toward the mat. And inhale, sweeping your hands up and overhead. And then bringing them both down alongside of you. You're standing back to mountain pose. I'm going to do a leg lift where it doesn't look like much, but it actually is trickier than it looks, put it that way. We're going to lift our right leg up, sending our foot behind us. And then with a straight back, rounded shoulders, we're going to make sure that our knee is right knee is right beside the left knee. And that's the tricky part, because naturally you'd want to have it kind of just floating in front, but to guide it back so that both knees are side by side. And then we're going to take the heel of our right foot and send it up toward our hips. So again, you want to try to maintain a straight back, relaxed, rolled back shoulders. And then bring that leg back down. See? A little harder than it looks. So let's do that on the other side. I'll turn this way. So again, just lift your head, your leg, sending your heel back, but then make sure that the knees are side by side. Back straight, shoulders are relaxed. Find your balance here. And then tuck that heel up toward your hips. It's a very active move. And then bring that back down. Well done. So we're going to sweep our hands up overhead again. Big inhale. And exhale, forward fold, bending at the knees, bringing your hands down to the mat. Inhale, sweeping your hands up to your shins, flattening out your back, sending your gaze down, half forward fold. And then extending your head, crown of your head down toward the mat for forward fold. And then sweeping your hands from the mat all the way up overhead. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. And then we'll put your hands on the backs of your hips, fingertips pointing down. Your feet are about hip width apart. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Tuck your chin toward your chest and just roll your shoulders back, creating a nice gentle back bend. And keeping your chin tucked so that your head doesn't go back. It's a supported back bend. Remember to hold the pose, not your breath. Keep breathing. And then come back upright. Well done, everyone. We just sweep our hands up overhead. Again, come back down to the mat, bending our knees, placing both hands on the mat to extend our feet to the back of the mat, coming into downward dog. So our fingers are spread wide apart. The weight of our torso is on the balls of the fingers and the fingertips. Arms are nice and straight. You're reaching your chest toward your thighs. Knees can be bent. You can pedal here if that's comfortable. My favorite thing to do in downward dog. Hips are set up toward the sky. We'll just pedal out here for a few moments. Maybe take 3 deep inhales and exhales. Then we're going to bring our right knee to our right elbow. So inhale, guide your knee up toward your elbow, pushing off with your left toes. And then send that right foot back to downward dog. Pedal out again. Inhale, send that right knee to the right elbow, pushing off with your left toes. And then back to downward dog. Pedal out. And this last one, we're going to bring our right foot between our hands, coming into runner's lunge. So inhale, lift your right foot up, guide it up the mat so that it lands between your hands, or your hands frame the foot, whichever works out first. And you're in runner's lunge with your knee right above your ankle. Your back leg is nice and active and strong, pushing the back of your heel to the back of the mat. Then plant your left hand down on the mat. Sweep your right hand up to the sky, sending your gaze up to your hand. And then exhale, bring the hand back down. We're going to bring our right foot back to meet the left and come into plank pose. So your wrists are right above your shoulders or below your shoulders again. Navel's tucked to your spine, elevating your hips slightly. No sunken tummies here. Legs are straight and strong, pushing the heels to the back of the mat. And slowly lower to the mat, either knees, chest, chin. Putting your knees down first, then your chest, then your chin. Or chaturanga. Either way, you can keep your elbows tucked to your ribs and lower to the mat. Then bring your hands alongside of you. Palms are facing up. And we'll do half lotus. Locust, not lotus, locust. So we're going to lift our right leg up. And then send it down. Lift our left leg up. And keep your hips parallel. Don't put them on a diagonal. Keep them parallel to the mat. Lowering your left leg down. Then we're going to lift both legs and both arms up for full locust. And bring them back down. Bring your fingertips right below your shoulders. I'm gonna, keeping our elbows tucked to our ribs, gently push down so you come up to Cobra. And then push some more, coming up to tabletop, and then dropping your hips to your ankles for child's pose. Extending your arms straight in front of you for a nice stretch, or you can wrap them around your side if you want to feel like you're hibernating. And take a few deep breaths here. Then inhale, come back up to tabletop. Tuck your toes under and come up into downward dog again. So pedal out here. Again, your fingers are splayed apart. The weight of your arms and torso is on the fingertips, not on your wrists. Chest is reaching toward your thighs, elevating your hips up toward the sky. Knees are bent, or you could be pedaling. Take 3 deep breaths here. Then inhale, bringing your left knee to your left elbow, pushing off with your right toes. And then back again to downward dog, pedal out. Inhale, lift your left knee to your left elbow. And then back to downward dog. And pedal out. On this one, we're gonna lift our left foot and place it between our hands. So coming into runner's lunge. So inhale, lift your left foot up, guide it up toward the front of the mat, landing between your hands or bringing your hands down to your foot, whichever way works well for you. Knees right over your ankle, back leg is active, back heels pushing to the back of the mat. Nice stretch there, feeling the leg. And then place your right hand down onto the mat and sweep your left hand up to the sky, following your hand with your gaze. And then bring the left hand back down and bring your left foot back to join your right foot, coming into plank. Navel's tucked to the spine, elevating your hips. And then come down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, keeping your elbows tucked to the sides. And then place your arms alongside of you, palms up. And we'll do half locust and full locust again. So keeping your hips parallel with the mat, lift your right leg up. And then bring it back down to the mat. Lift your left leg up. And bring it back down to the mat. And then full locust, lift both legs and both arms up off the mat. And come back down to the mat. Bring your fingertips right below your shoulders. And gently push down, coming up into cobra. Elbows are tucked to your ribs. Gaze is straight ahead. And then push further into tabletop and then Lower your hips to your ankles to child's pose. And you can keep your arms stretched out front or hug them around you. Whatever feels comfortable here for a few moments of rest. Then inhale, come up to tabletop, tuck your toes under, come up into downward dog, and then walk your feet along the mat up to your hands, coming into a forward fold. Once you've hit forward fold, and sweep your hands all the way from the bottom mat up overhead, palms come together, palms come to heart center. So now we're going to lift our right leg up in front of us and send it back behind us, coming into warrior two. So our left leg, the knees over the ankle, toes pointing to the top of the mat, enough so that you can see your big toe on the inside of your knee. Your back foot is nice and snug, the back edge of your foot is snug into the mat. And push both feet down and push them toward each end of the mat, really feeling grounded. We're gonna have our chest facing the long edge of the mat and then sweep our hands up to shoulder height and gently turn your head to the left, look at your left fingertips. And just feel the internal and external strength of this pose. Spirit of the warrior. And lower your right hand down, sending your left hand up, coming into reverse or peaceful warrior, following your left fingertips with your gaze. And then bringing your left arm to your left thigh. I'm going to sweep the right arm overhead and send it out to the top of the mat so you have a direct line of energy from your right foot all the way up through the fingertips of your right hand. Then bring your right hand down to the mat, pivoting, coming to runner's lunge. And then pushing down in your left foot, lift your right foot up and then bring it to join your left foot, coming into forward fold. And then sweep your hands from the mat all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to your heart center. And we're going to do dancer pose, which I always associate with Samadhi for some reason. I always think that it's the spiritual pose of yoga. So there's two ways you can do it. You can lift your leg up like we did earlier, having the knees next to one another, lifting the heel up toward your hip, and then extending your arm forward, and then just pivot at the waist and come like that. So it's a balanced pose. Or if you're so inclined, you can take the inner part of your foot with your hand, then reach a stable point, and then pushing your foot into your hand and lifting your other arm up. Woo. Come into dancer's pose. Need a little more practice on that, but that's what I'm doing today. So that, whatever my body does today, I'm grateful for. So work on that for a moment. See how it feels for you, either this way, lifting your heel up toward your hip and pivoting at the waist and extending your arm. They're both balance poses. So doing any part of that pose is doing the pose. Or again, you would hook on to the inner part of your foot, reach a point of stability, which might be tricky, and then pushing down your toes into your hand and pushing your leg up. All right, so let's go back to doing that on the other side. I'm going to turn around this way, so not backwards to you. So go back to mountain pose, lift our left leg up and extend it back, coming into warrior two. Warrior two, knees over your ankle, toes pointing to the short edge of the mat. Be able to see your big toe just on the side of your knee. Back foot is anchored snugly into the mat. Push both feet down, push them out toward the ends of the mat. Really feel secure. Chest is facing the long edge of your mat. Lift your arms up to shoulder height, slowly turning your head to look at your right fingertips. And then lowering your left hand down to your left thigh, raising your right hand up to the sky, following it with your gaze. And then lowering your right arm to your right thigh, sweeping your left hand overhead, pointing it toward the top of the mat or short edge of the mat, creating that one straight line of energy from your left toes on up to your left fingertips. And then bring your left hand down to the mat, pivot into runner's lunge. And then we're going to come into forward fold. So push down in your right foot, lifting up your left foot, and then bring your left foot to join your right foot. Fold down for forward fold. Then sweep your hands from the mat all the way up overhead. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. And we'll do dancer pose on the other side. Again, you can lift your leg up, keeping your knees next to one another and guiding your heel up toward your hips. And then send out your right arm and pivot forward from the waist. Kind of feel like a tin soldier in this pose. And then if you'd like, you could try the other version of dancer is grabbing onto the inner part of your foot, bringing your knees down so they're parallel, finding that stability. And lift your right arm up and push your left foot into your left hand, sending it up toward the sky. And then back down again. Try that again. Knees are next to one another. Hip comes up, heel comes up to the hip. Arm is out reach and pivot from the waist for dancer pose. Again, it's a balance pose, as I just demonstrated. Or the other version. And then come down. Well done, everyone. We'll come back to mountain pose, bringing our toes to the edges of the mat. Heels are tucked in 45 degrees. Bring your hands to heart center. And we'll lower our torso down toward the mat. Bending our knees, lowering our hips, bringing our torso between our legs into wide-legged squat. And then bring our seat down to the mat. We'll roll down to the mat, either one vertebrae at a time or express method. Bring your knees up to your chest, give them a nice gentle hug. Then extend your arms out at shoulder height. And we're going to drop our knees on the exhale over to the right side of the mat. And then slowly turn our head over and look at our left fingertips. Then inhale, return your head back to center, and then inhale, lift your legs back to center. And then exhale, lowering your legs to the left side of the mat. And slowly turning your head to look at your right fingertips. Then inhale, returning your head back to center, and then inhale, lift your legs back to center. And then extend your legs to the bottom of the mat and prepare for Shavasana. So with Shavasana, be sure to be comfortable and warm. This is a relaxation pose, so you can kind of use a mantra of let go. So let your feet flop open, let them go. Just release any tension in your legs, in your knees, in your thighs, in your hips. Release any tension along your spine. Relax your shoulder blades into your mat. Maybe bring one hand to your stomach and the other hand to your chest. And then just letting those hands flop open to the sides, palms up. Be nice and relaxed. Relax your jaw. Relax your forehead. Place a gentle smile upon your lips. And I have a quote, and I apologize, I didn't get who said it. It was from one of the articles I read this week about Samadhi. And this is how they explained their experience. So perhaps this leaf will help clarify things. Its texture is dry and brittle. Its shape is flat and round. Its color is brown with a touch of crimson. We can recognize it as a leaf because of our senses, our instruments of perception, and our thought that gives things names. Without them, the leaf is abstract, pure, undifferentiated energy. The same unreal, ethereal energy that flows through this leaf flows through and sustains everything. We, like everything else, are real on the one hand and only appearances on the other.